know what I said. It's 5 o'clock. The biggest conservative gathering of the year, CPAC, kicked off outside Washington today with appearances by some of the biggest names in the mix for 2016.
I'm ready for a country that puts our Constitution on the top shelf, every part of it. I'm ready for leadership on the world stage, not just sitting around and waiting to see what other people do.
If I decide to run, let me tell you one thing. I will run a hard fighting campaign where I will fight for the hardworking taxpayers of this country, and I'll take my chances on me. I've done pretty well so far.
Well, we all know that in a campaign, every candidate comes up and tells you, I'm the most conservative guy that's ever lived. Actions speak far, far louder than words. We need to look to people who walk the walk and don't just talk the talk.
Scott Walker has just taken the stage, and tomorrow Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, and others will join the stage. Will any of them emerge from the three-day event as a front-runner for the GOP nomination contest? Of course, that's unlikely, but it is an important day. And, Greg, you've been saying for a while that the Republicans have to find a way to appeal to people on a different level, not just to conservatives, but a broader thing. This one is for conservatives. Do you think they're at least even going to connect with them?
Oh, yes, definitely. My problem is I don't like conferences in general. I like horror movies, but I wouldn't go to a horror film conference because I'd prefer my zombies from far away. Any kind of ideology kind of creeps me out a little. The thing with CPAC is, and it doesn't cure sickness in 3 days, it's a circus, in a way, for the conservative animal, the conservative leader, to perform its most popular tricks. To say the things that get the most applause, but it doesn't necessarily challenge a candidate. It indulges the weaknesses of a candidate who likes to repeat the same old chestnuts. I think you cannot be conservative enough. That's why I have a problem with Teddy Cruz. You need to be intellectually agile. You need to be charming and strategic. It just can't be about being a conservative. You've got to look at President Obama as an example of somebody who was not just a progressive, but also charismatic and smart. And you've got to have all that together. It's not enough. We used to make fun of Chris Matthews because he got that thrill up his leg. I was jealous because I want to feel something about someone. I want to look and go, wow, I want one goosebump. Just one goosebump. And I want to listen to somebody there, whether it's Ben Carson or Scott Walker, and go, wow, this guy means something to me. Yeah. So I mean, that's how Chris Matthews, I was jealous.
Well, you kind of like Scott Walker.
I do. I like the fact that he doesn't wear his jacket. Takes it off.
That's a good one. Now, Eric, we are glad that you're here with us today, but I know that in your heart you would much rather be down at National Harbor.
Yeah, I would love to have been there. I can't figure out why I'm not there, in fact. So they called Woodstock for conservatives.
I'm trying to help you for next year.
Right, well, talk to the second floor. There's where that stopped. So
got electrocuted.
The thing for the people at CPAC is to either protect what you have, gain ground, or just get the heck out of Dodge with your hat. So with the most to gain, I would probably say Scott Walker, because he's got this whole momentum going. He's got this whole, great in poll numbers. People are loving what he's saying. But will he resonate with the conservative group? And if he does, that's really, really going to push him forward for the next few months. Anything can happen after the conference, obviously. Most to lose, Rand Paul. He's won the straw poll twice in a row. He's got a huge following down there. They're expecting a lot from him. We have to bring some ideas, and hopefully he does that and continues his push that he's got going on. And just get out of Dodge with your hat, Jeb Bush. I mean, because it's a very, very right-wing conservative crowd who have a lot of issues with Jeb, and my guess is he's going to stay, kind of nothing controversial. I would really doubt that he's going to push into the conservative areas, the areas that people have a problem with, Common Core, immigration, a couple of the other things that he's had.
He might not have a choice because he's doing a Q&A.
That's
the interesting thing about this year's CPAC is the Q&A session that goes on after. How he handles that'll be very, very telling how he's going to be able to handle it going forward.
Does it matter, Juan, that there are some people who aren't going? So one of them is Mike Huckabee, former Governor Mike Huckabee, who is, he won't be at CPAC, but he is going to be addressing the National Religious Broadcasters meeting, which arguably might be a great place for him to be.
It's terrific, because he's appealing to the evangelical base in the party. But remember, he didn't do well there last time around at CPAC. So I think he may have made a strategic decision that it's just not to his advantage. I disagree with Eric. I don't think this is the most conservative Republicans running around. I think this tends to be a little bit younger, more libertarian crowd, which is why Rand Paul has done so well in the past. And I think also it's in Washington.
Are those mutually exclusive?
No, but I think if
Aren't
you
they
see,
conservative?
They're conservative. They're libertarian.
Yeah.
They're younger. And as you know what it is, though, there's a lot of talk radio folks there. And so that fits the model you're talking about, I think, where there's a desire for that red meat. Remember last time Romney said, I'm severely conservative, young people. And I think that, I think that said to everybody, maybe he's not that conservative.
Yeah, I mean, you have to put an adverb on it.
Ted Cruz said he's the most conservative guy to ever live, which will be interesting.
Or an adjective, I should say.
He gets anywhere, and then they replay that over 1,000 times to frighten people.
Kimberly, what are you looking for, or are you looking for anything out of this?
I'm looking for it all, Dana. Okay. And I believe it's out there. So, CPAC.
Can any man at this conference, or a woman, we're going to get to Carly Fiorina in a minute, can
I
they
like her.
Get you excited about the race?
Yeah, for sure. I love Ben Carson. See, there he is right there. This is just serendipitous. So there's Ben Carson. I think he's fantastic. He is bold, fresh ideas for America. I love his background, his story, his enthusiasm, his intellect, and yes, his surgical skills. I mean, what's not to like about him? And yes, Carly Fiorina, amazing. In terms of a woman candidate, that's somebody I could sink, my teeth into.
She's actually getting a little bit of attention. She just announced a new PAC, and we have a soundbite from her. Carly.
She tweets about women's rights in this country and takes money from governments that deny women the most basic human rights. She tweets about equal pay for women but will not answer basic questions about her own office's pay standards, and neither will our president. Hillary may like hashtags, but she does not know what leadership means.
So, Greg, this is Carly Fiorina, who ran for Senate in California. She was not successful in that contest, but she's been on the stump before.
Right.
Something else that she does that maybe Romney did not do enough is she's willing to throw a punch.
Yeah, she's got some good lines, and they're funny and they're clever, and they work perfect on Fox News. They work perfect on television.
Did you write them?
But that's not enough. It goes back to my point. You shouldn't toy with us. The public isn't a closet full of stuffed animals that you put a show on for because you're looking for applause, or you're looking for a talk show, or you're looking for attention. Children pretend. At this point, for 2016, after 6 years and then 8 years of what we've experienced, we need adults. We need adults who can unify this country, who aren't just about maybe getting a book deal or getting a show. Don't waste our time. We don't need a carnival of barkers. We need an inspirational figure.
Wait a second. Are you attacking Donald Trump on this show?
Yes. No.
Why?
Because I love the Donald, but I need to believe that that's somebody who is talking about running is taking it seriously.
Well, he would seem to me, to be the quintessential guy who is doing it for all the reasons you just described. He says, I'm serious. He's on the front page of the Washington Post this morning.
There's more than him.
But you're not saying that about Carly Fiorina.
I don't know. Clear. Yes, maybe.
But really?
I think she's serious about it. What does she
No,
need?
she's serious about vice president.
She's not hungry for a job. I think
Why can't a woman be serious about being president?
She can be, but
I can't believe you're attacking women on this show.
What's wrong with you, Juan?
If I would attack you, Peter would be after me. But I'm saying, if you look at the numbers, you think so? Oh my gosh, I have to worry. Look, but I'm saying if you look at the numbers, she's just not there in the top tier right now.
Let me ask you about Christie, because over the past couple weeks, there's been some articles, one in the New York Times in particular, that said some of his initial round of support and some of the money behind Christie had sort of been backing away. But this is his chance at CPAC to try to regain some momentum. What do you think?
He hasn't had a very good time at CPAC. Remember, he wasn't invited a couple of years ago. He came back, and then recently, a couple of weeks ago, with the whole the shots, the inoculations,
the vaccine
issues. I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to regain his footing, but he's had Bridgegate, he's had the vaccine issues. I guess he's just trying to stay relevant until he can find something he can sink his teeth into. He doesn't seem like, as Greg points out, one that has a real shot at winning at this point.
But Kimberly, not an easy interview. So he's not just giving a speech where he might be booed or something like that, or risk not being invited. He sat down with Laura Ingraham, which is kind of tough.
I like it, but you have to put it out there. I mean, you want people to be inspired by you. You have to separate yourself from the rest of the group. So sit down, take the interview, show you can handle it, and let us see your true passion and what you actually stand for. This is, I think, a very important conference, especially at this moment in time and where the party is, to see if somebody is going to emerge as sort of the shining star, the one to look for. So if I were them, I would be well prepared and, leave nothing behind, put it all out on the table.
Well, so I thought that today, in fact, in order to do just what you're talking about, he had to go after Jeb Bush because they're battling for the establishment mantle, right? But he didn't do that.
You know who was a big star this morning at CPAC, Juan?
Who?
It wasn't a presidential candidate. It was Rafi Williams, your son, who he ran a panel and a discussion about the millennial vote.
Which is critical.
Absolutely.
So
thank goodness you raised such a great young conservative.
All right.
We're so happy for his help.
But, the one thing that you brought up Ben Carson, who I think is one of the more intriguing and intelligent and just a real he's a real achiever. He's somebody who's done something with his life. He's like an old school politician in that he had a real life before he became a politician.
Right.
But he lacks the inspirational voice. And that's what makes him great, is that he's not a phony, but I want him to be a little bit phony. I want him to exude emotion.
You mean because he's very even?
He's very even, and he's right. But he's so even, and I want him to.
That's why what worries me about Ben Carson is when people say, "I love his story."
Yeah.
But I love his story too. But we loved another story in America in 2008, and look how that turned out.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a manufactured.
If you've never run,
let's be honest.
But if you've never run for a big political office, to do president as your first one, I think it is a very high bar.
But you know what? This is a guy who has a tremendous amount of life experience and a common sense understanding. I don't see anything about him to me that doesn't come off as very genuine and authentic.
I agree, but does anything about him say he could run the country?
Well, you know what? A community organizer won.
Well, that's my point.
One of the knocks against Scott Walker is that he has no foreign policy experience whatsoever or ideas that are out there that he's starting to develop them right now. But Ben Carson doesn't either. So, and nor probably did President Obama. Maybe
most people nobody really has foreign policy experience until they sit down in the Oval Office.
See, Ben Carson could say, "I separated those twins, and now I'm going to unite this country."
You know what was interesting on the foreign policy front? The person who spoke to that today was Carly Fiorina.
Yes.
And she was saying that she was distinguishing herself from Hillary, which is very interesting. Nobody else today, at least, went after the Democrats, went after Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
She did. I'm not persuaded that she said, "Oh, Hillary's accomplished something, Hillary knows nothing." But it did say to me that going into this cycle, it's going to be valuable to say, I know how to run government. I know how to maneuver in Washington. In a way, the fresh face thing may not be what we're looking for here.
And Carly Fiorina can read a crowd, right? So she was a crowd pleaser, and she got several standing ovations, so that's something.
But again, the crowd is not helpful. You need to go out among the general population and charm them. If you're surrounded by like-minded people, it doesn't challenge you.
You kind of first have to start. You have to have some building blocks, right? You have to have a foundation.
What else am I going to say?
I don't know, but I got to go. Yes, you get the last word.
That she spent over $100 million on her Senate campaign.
And isn't that amazing that she was a successful enough businesswoman that she was able to self-fund her campaign? One of the first women to do so in America.
Yeah.
How about that, Eric?
And she created jobs because somebody received that $100 million. I liked it.
And let me just say, Greg, I must say, sometimes when I look at you, I feel that thrill up my leg. You could be president.
My hands are long.
All right.